Hello, it's Talking Reds. Good morning from Liverpool. I've got Rob Gutmann. I've got Craig Hannan. I am John Gibbons. And Liverpool could win the league tonight. We said that at the weekend. It didn't quite happen, but that's the beauty about being so far ahead, is that every time we play, every time Arsenal play, there is the opportunity for it to be the night. So get yourself ready, gird your loins and prepare yourself, because you could be celebrating later. Gutmann, you're across the percentages. What is the percentage chance of Liverpool being a champion tonight, before we get on to your rant on why we should all want it?
I don't know where to start now. You've come to the right place, John.
On both.
Well, checking my own personal betting account, it's as it stands, Palace are 11% to win this match, and we know that's the only eventuality that delivers the league title for Liverpool tonight. However, I do think when the team selections drop an hour and a quarter before, that these odds could vary.
Yeah. Arteta said he's going to go strong in his press conference. We think Palace will rest because they've got a cup semi-final on Sunday. So Palace's odds could lengthen.
Yeah,
is what you're thinking.
I think the bookies will have sort of priced in what Arteta has said and what we expect of Palace. But you never know. Arteta could be...
He could throw a Mickey.
Yeah, what he calls strong. He could. It's like managers tend to go, "Are you going to rotate?" I'm going to, and Klopp used to, I'm going to play the strongest team I can to win this soccer match, right? and he put 9 bums in. Right? So
this match is my full focus.
Yeah, all that nonsense.
John Knight.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was a good example of the epic resting in the run into that Europa final in 2016. I think Arteta will slightly hedge his bets, and I think what he isn't saying as well is I will get 5 of the best lads off on 60 and put 5 bums on, whatever the score is. Now that the bookies, they either price in or they don't. But I think, to be honest, going back slightly on what I said at the start, I think that 11% on Palace seems about right. In fact, I think it's personally, I think that's a bit generous, because I don't think their second string are going to offer any resistance to Arsenal, who are also finally in some form and confident. You know, it's in the last 4 games, they've beaten Real Madrid twice, they've thrashed Ipswich, okay, they've got a shitty draw with Brentford, but generally they're feeling very good about themselves, and I don't think they're going to make any mistakes against Palace, unfortunately.
11%, do you think that's about right, or do you think it's a touch high compared to how well Arsenal played at the weekend and how much Palace seem to be so focused on this FA Cup now, which is fair enough?
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. I think the FA Cup's the big part of all of this, because Palace have looked like a decent team since the turn of the year, really, more than decent actually, and they've hit like a little bit of a rough patch recently, but they've got some really dangerous players and a manager that I quite like, and a team that I've quite grown to like. There's a lot of players in there that you can sort of really like, but I just feel that Arsenal have a bit of momentum, and they're a week away from the PSG game. They've got no game at the weekend, and so this winning tonight is their momentum into the biggest game of their season, and the biggest game that they've had in years probably. If I was betting, I'd be betting on Arsenal and getting pretty shit odds for it.
The Palace want a bit of momentum, though. There's an interesting comment here from Doug Kerr, who says, surely Palace don't want to go into the game to go into the semi-final after a drubbing, though I think it'll be stronger than we think. And it is a bit fair, because you can say you're putting all your eggs in one basket, but they had a bit of a dour 0-0 at the weekend, albeit having a man sent off early, so probably just felt like they had to change a bit of game plan. But the game before that, they did get thrashed. There was a Newcastle, wasn't it, who knocked 5 past them. So you don't really want necessarily another hammering before you go into a big game. I think that is fair enough.
I think that's a fair observation, actually, because especially for those kind of teams where it depends where you stop the clock in the season as to whether they're any good or not. Bournemouth are better than them, but if you look at Bournemouth in December, January, I was sort of only slightly tongue-in-cheek going, I think Bournemouth might be the best team in Europe at the moment. And Palace, they have that run at the end of last season where Glasner has them winning every game 4-0.
Yeah.
And everyone was going, fucking hell, what can they do next season? Get to September, they're shit again. So I think maybe he thinks now you kind of have to. We're only as good as our form, because our players are quite average. Apart from that front three, which I like, Ismaila Sarr, Eze, and Mateta. They're now very, very average outfit. So their strongest player is their form. So to that end, maybe they do need that form. I mean, they can say to themselves, look, get something at Arsenal and we'll be bouncing. win in the semi-final, and then we can all have a big rest and a pint after that semi on Sunday, because none of the other games after them matter. But in a certain sense, this one matters because it might define how they feel about themselves going into Sunday. That's putting a positive spin on it. Again, he might take the Arteta approach and go relatively strong with a view to preordained subs on 60. But he went strong at the weekend, and then so did Arteta. I don't know. I think maybe it is all about rhythm at this stage. Maybe they're all surprises.
It just feels like they're a team that aren't used to playing sort of 3 games a week, and then it's a semi-final and so could go to extra time. And that's a big risk you're taking if you're going to be playing, say, Eze for 90 minutes and Adam Wharton or whoever else it is, you know, some of their key players, and then suddenly they find themselves playing extra time, which they'll also not be used to at the end of a week where they played 3 games. That's why I think there will be rest. You might see like a big 30 from some of the key players coming on at the end. If the game's still tight.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Battlevet said that they'll have one eye on the semi-final. They don't have much depth, but expect them to low block and hit on the counter. I mean, they've got players who can do that, and they managed to see it out against the dangerous Bournemouth with 10 men. So I feel like they could frustrate Arsenal tonight more than Ipswich could. That was always the problem with Ipswich, is that, you know, you got yourself hopeful. I know I certainly did, in terms of, like, you know, what they can do. They can score goals. Obviously, the lap doesn't end up playing, but they're a little bit dangerous, Ipswich, you know, with the ball. But they're just so easy to play against, and that was the problem. Was Arsenal just always felt like they had space, always felt they had men in space, and if with those attacking players, if they got space, they'll kill you, and that's what they do. Is your fancy Palace will make it a little bit tougher for Arsenal, you know, to break through them. You would have thought.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, if you compare it to the Ipswich game, though, Arsenal are at the Emirates, in front of if I was one of theirs tonight going to that ground, you'd be going in with such a warm, fuzzy feeling, like nothing can really hurt us at the moment, because we see ourselves as Champions League winners potentially. We're feeling so confident. I feel it goes 2 ways. Either they're absolutely relaxed and you get the best version of an Arteta Arsenal team, and they absolutely blow them away. And we're talking big numbers, 3s, 4s and 5s. Or it's a weird one, where their motivation isn't quite there, and subconsciously, even though he's picked the good lads, all of them have got their minds on PSG. And if Palace frustrate them for 15, 20 minutes, they never quite get a tempo going. And then maybe it gets to 60 and it gets interesting, and maybe when it gets to 60, Palace start to think about bringing the better lads off the bench, the attackers, to keep them in rhythm, and then suddenly Eze and Mateta come on 60, and it's still 0-0 because Arsenal haven't quite got out of bed. That's how it works in our favour, but I still think the relaxed, free-flowing Arsenal will probably have this one by half-time.
But obviously there is the question about, you know, what we want from a Liverpool point of view. Barry, we'll come on to you in a minute, Rob. Barry DeVelli says, no, today isn't the day. Sunday is the day in front of our fans. That's what you're after, Craig.
I can't believe I'm about to say this on video in front of Liverpool fans as a Liverpool fan, and it sort of shows how shite Arsenal have been in this title race. But like, I want Arsenal to pick up points tonight, because, you know, I want the big moment on Sunday. Like, I'm going to be watching the game and cheering them like it's a fucking cup final.
Singing North London Forever.
Well, no, what I'll do is I'll sing all of our songs about Arsenal into it. That's what they do. Nice.
So I'll just change the name of the player.
Yeah, I have like a red and white scarf.
You'll never walk alone down Holloway Road.
And
like no mistake.
And that's a fucking mad thing to say, but I think, you know, look, at the weekend I wanted Liverpool to win the league, because Liverpool are playing, and then they don't do it, and so I want Liverpool to win the league when Liverpool are playing. And I think a lot of fans, if you ask them that, a lot of fans would say, you know, they're not saying it on video on YouTube for all to see, but I'm sure they're sitting tonight thinking, well, look, if Arsenal drop points, you know, if Arsenal win, well, you know, it sets up a big game on Sunday. It sets up potentially the best day of our lives. You know, if Arsenal draw, then it takes a little bit of the pressure off. I'm an all or nothing sort of guy. I want to be walking in that ground going, like, fucking beat Spurs and win the league. Like, what a feeling that'll be at the end. But I think that Rob Gutmann might disagree with me. Rob,
tell us why this is woke nonsense.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it probably. I don't even know if it's generational, actually, because I've spoken to enough people of my age who would agree with Craig. And you said before we came on that 90% of our fans would probably agree with Craig. They want to win it against Spurs at Anfield. Paul Senior said in one of our chats, I want to be in a ground at Anfield when the final whistle blows and Liverpool are crowned champions. I totally get that. I also want that to happen. But what I want to happen slightly more than that is I want Liverpool to win the league, and there to be no chance whatsoever that Liverpool don't win the league. And you can't make me not want Liverpool to win the league as soon as physically possible. It's not impatience, it's just I want all the peril gone. And by the way, I tell you who I think might agree with me more than the 90%, the Liverpool players. Virgil said they're all gathering round to watch the game together. Now, I don't think they're convening this so that they can hope that Arsenal smash Palace so that they can enjoy Saturday more. I think they know they'll enjoy Saturday absolutely perfectly if they're champions already, and they can walk out of Anfield as champions. Now, I think you're likely to get your wish than me, Craig, on this one, and the rest of us. But I will blame all of you if Arsenal win tonight and we don't beat Spurs. Because that will, not because that's how the gods work, but it's just be a reminder of none of this is done till it's done. And there are scenarios, and they're not that improbable, that it creeps towards moments of stress. I think what I don't want is I want the minimum of stress now. I want it done. I think people talking about getting their fucking party frocks ready for Sunday, to me, is such entitled, privileged bullshit that I do think it's symptomatic of FOMO type culture. It's about me and the pictures of me in the ground with my mates getting selfies on Sunday. Is it fuck? Is it fuck? I was saying to a friend of mine earlier, my first league title, I think that was properly sentient for as a 12-year-old, 1979. I was brought up in London, so I was still living there, and Liverpool, the league matches weren't live on the telly. Liverpool playing Aston Villa for the title, won it that night on a midweek night, 3-0, and it was past my bedtime by the time they clinched the title at like 5-10 or whatever it was. And I had to listen to the score on Radio 2's news thing, under the duvet with a transistor radio. That was my celebration. No YouTubes, no parties, no nothing. But the purity of knowing that my team had won that league was a feeling that I've enjoyed every time Liverpool won the league, whether I was in grounds or not. And that's my message to the kids.
I think I agree on the Spurs thing of going into the ground. Nobody can go into that ground on Sunday. If Arsenal do pick up points tonight, there's nobody can go in that ground thinking like it's definitely happening today. And we will be as fans.
No.
We'll have that feeling, but like the players can, and as a crowd, we'll need to everyone will need to do their part. I think the thing I don't want is I don't want people having the feeling of not being able to celebrate the moment that they win the league in the way that they want to, because that's what was stolen from them in 2020. And I know that's a mad thing to say because you want Liverpool to win the league in theory as soon as possible.
Because it could have happened with fans in the ground the way it happened too, couldn't it?
We still weren't playing.
That's not, COVID didn't steal that. It stole the parade.
I just think look, Sundays, if you know, I think when we think about it here, I think the thing that probably where we all shake hands on is that Arsenal draw tonight, and then we go into the game and it's there is less of that peril, and it's not all or nothing, and it's not getting to 60 and it's nervy. I mean, Spurs have been shite of recent, you know, but then you know it adds. Going into a game where you know if you win it, you become champions, it adds another level of something that we haven't experienced. You know, we're talking about something that we missed out on last time as a crowd. We won't have experienced that, whether it gets to 60 against Spurs and we're like, fucking hell, we're drawn, but we need to win. You know, having built it up to be the day of our lives, which is what we're all sort of doing. I hear what you say, Rob, but I still want Sunday.
I will deal on a draw.
let's deal on a draw.
Well, 100%, because that's an unlikely event. A draw would be a magnificent result, put Liverpool within a point of a title, even the possibility you could win it on goal difference, worst case scenario. That'd be unlikely, but.
And everyone talks about it as it's just the people in the ground. It's not just the people in the ground. It's supporters clubs getting the gather together. It's people being able to make it an event and gather in to the pub and watch the game and then celebrate it with their friends and their family and all of that.
Yeah.
It's a Wednesday night. People have worked. They'll be sat in theirs.
Go out.
Yeah.
We are.
But not everyone will be able to. That's the thing. I don't want people like it happening and then people being in theirs again and going, oh, well, if that little moment's got stolen from me. Look, they wouldn't feel like that by the time it gets to Sunday. By the time it gets to Sunday, it's a party.
Monday morning. I mean, that's Monday morning is just the same disaster as Thursday. In fact, it's worse because you can go out all fucking day. Well, on that bombshell, John.
Guys, we just tipped us €5.99, so thanks for that. And then his comment with the tip, which I don't know if it means he's paying us to try and make this happen, but he says, I really hope there isn't a pitch invasion on Sunday if we win. But then his username is The Invader, which just feels like
I really hope there isn't either.
I know, but I just feel like there's he's
very modern Liverpool pitching. We're not pitching. I mean, there's famous footage of us invading the Molineux pitch in '76 when we win the league. That's because there's no barriers then. Yeah, but in this day and age,
I don't think you might get a couple of kids.
It feels a bit like Stoke staying up and City winning the league. It just feels a bit Everton. It's a bit Everton. Yeah, well, sorry. Yeah, that was the key example of recently. I would hate that, to be honest, because then people feel as if they need to be on the pitch because other people have been on the pitch. Let's just enjoy it in the stands like we have throughout the season up until this point. Let's have that moment rather than like being a pain in everyone's arse on the pitch.
When did you last invade a pitch?
I don't think I've ever had.
I did once. Tranmere pre-season.
Yes, I was.
Do you remember?
Did.
Everyone
yes.
could. Just because
right.
you could. I think
right.
you drew.
That's right.
What a day. Couldn't believe it. No fucker stopped us.
Going home with loads of grass in your pocket.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that. Listen, whatever happens, we're doing a show tonight on YouTube. So everyone who's watching this, you know where YouTube is. You'll be able to find it. So whenever you're watching this, we'll be doing a post-match pint after the game. So I just want to say that whenever we're doing it, so people don't think it's result dependent. Whatever the result is, there is going to be a post-match pint. And then obviously, if Arsenal do lose, then there'll probably be a lot more than that sort of going on. And so, yeah, make sure you're following the Anfield Wrap. Make sure you subscribe because there's going to be loads of great stuff, regardless of whether Liverpool win it tonight, whether they win it on Sunday, or whether there's a Gutmann peril option of having to wait a little bit longer. We think it's
on the Monday night.
Well, I'll have to go. Loads of reasons to subscribe to the Anfield Wrap at the moment. So really looking forward to the content over the next few days, including Rob, a gutter which you are recording straight after this, where you're going to look at some European options.
Yeah, we started straight after this. We're going to look at the forward options. You and I did a fantastic show yesterday where we talked about possible Premier League strikers that Liverpool could buy. And we're going to focus very much on the cream of Europe, all the young, fast lads, mainly playing for Borussia Dortmund, but around the leagues of Europe. So I'm looking forward to discussing that with two Joshes and a Mo.
Yeah.
And that's not Salah, that's Mo Stewart, by the way. TV's Mo Stewart.
I'd be good if Mo came on. Imagine Mo going, don't buy him, he's shit. Played against him, rubbish.
I'd love to have Mo. If you want to come on the gutter anytime, you're welcome.
Yeah, you'd be more than welcome. The fantastic show that Rob referenced is The Weekend, where we looked at basically the plethora of forward options that there are in the Premier League at the moment. A number of guys who might be on the move, who are available. Some of them have got release clauses, some of them haven't. And we assessed them from a Liverpool point of view, but also from a point of view of our rivals. So who we think we should go where. So that is available on the Tour app at the moment. That's The Weekend show. Really good listen. You enjoyed it as well, didn't you?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Yeah, it was really, really good. I said to you this morning, didn't I? Yeah, I loved it. The Anfield Wrap app. If you haven't downloaded it before as well, download it. You'll get free tokens. You'll be able to listen to it and other shows as well. There's loads on there.
Yeah, and the gutter will be available today, and then from tomorrow onwards, obviously we'll be looking ahead to the game on Sunday. We've got some great plans for the next couple of days. We've got some nice plans for Sunday as well. We're in there early Sunday morning, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm going to get the orange juice and croissants out and do the first ever Sunday best in person, we think. So that's a show that we normally do on Zoom, but we're doing it in person and they're getting ready for a big day. I'm not going to have my dress on, Rob, don't worry, he's taught me out of that.
Treat it like Ladies' Day. So you get in early, champagne early in the morning, and the croissants, big fascinator and hat. Yeah. Should we wear hats if not dresses?
Yeah, by 9 o'clock. See how that goes. The summit is interesting though, isn't it, Robin? You're going to be talking about it and
endlessly,
and you're going to be talking about it now, and we're starting to hear sort of little bits on what is likely. And it was funny recently where Arne Slot said he doesn't think this team requires surgery, and that ruffled a few feathers. But I mean, what I would say is surgery is quite a dramatic word, isn't it? You know, if you think about how many teams in the Premier League need surgery, it's the ones who are shit. And so I wouldn't be too downplayed. I don't think he was downplaying it sort of too much there. I think there is every chance that Liverpool buy 4 or 5 players this summer, but only 2 of them are starting the first game of the season, and that wouldn't be surgery, but it would really bolster the squad.
I think what they mean by the management of expectation by that is not to sort of, as I think, the more, what's the word, fragile or anxious fans will think that means they've got fuck all money to spend and they don't want to buy players. I think what Liverpool, certainly in the Michael Edwards era before and now again, is there's a surfeit of caution, you could say on one hand, but on another is that they want to be very, very sure that they're buying the signings that will work, that will have an effect on the first team. And if you set that as your baseline, it means you've got to prepare yourself for not being able to get players. So I think what they'll be saying to themselves, there's 5 or 6 on this list, and if by some miracle they all say yes, and the fees aren't insane, and their selling clubs all say yes, we will buy them. And I think Liverpool are thinking like, their first choices in each of the positions.
Yeah.
If they're all available and the deals are all there in front of them, I think they would do them. I think in reality, the odds of being able to do each and every one of their dream deals is difficult. And I think they say to themselves, look, we could get to, when the season kicks off on August 16th, I think it is, we could just have 1 or 2 of these lads in, and we can't lose our shit if that happens. And we don't want the fans to lose their shit. We know there has to be additions, but there has to be a minimum level. And remember, we've won the league, and I think we'll have this discussion through the summer on the Transfer Gutter show. We'll talk about actually what about the stuff that's in the academy? What about the stuff that's out on loan? Those sort of players will also be in their contingency thinking. And that's not to say that they think James McConnell means they don't buy another midfielder, or bringing Stefan Bajcetic back means they don't buy another midfielder. But I think they'll think, we have to think about that. If we can't get, as we saw last summer, our dream Zuba-Mendy type signing, we're not just going to buy some bum from a lower league side in France. We have to have contingencies.
Yeah, I'm expecting with all the planning that they've had and everything that they've put in place off the pitch, not just Richard Hughes, but, I was reminded the other day that Julian Ward's come back and stuff like that. They get analysis in and stuff like that. They're hiring these people for a reason, and I'm expecting, not with excuses of last summer sort of count for this one. They've had a big period to assess. They've had a big period to look at the squad and analyse what they need. And I think what Arnestad's trying to say is that, listen, a lot of the squad we really like, and the league table proves it. But they're obviously going to want to improve in certain areas, and I fully expect they will.
Yeah, massively. Look, I think given what we all expect to happen with Trent, I think we'll see, and this is based on not, there's no ITK here, it's just my feelings. I think they'll have 1 or 2 done already that they'll want to get sort of announced and in the door sort of early June, almost immediately after the season's finished and the celebrations are over. No less for the sort of brand Liverpool, but also just to set a stall out for any potential signings that they might be trying to get in that might be a little bit more difficult. That we've lost Trent, but here's Liverpool, here's the business that Liverpool are going to be doing and showing that they mean business. I think the point around the kind of signings that they're after, of course there's a level. I think that this season I think saw where if we had maybe brought in 1 or 2 more, we might have fared better in Europe against PSG. We might have been able to win a cup. Might have been able to sort of change players sort of more readily and have more players that we trust in certain positions. Give players like Gravenberch a rest at different times that makes them a little bit fresher come this time of the season. And I think that the signings that they make this summer, although what Rob said, where they might not start immediately, or there might be 1 or 2 that start immediately if you've signed 5 and 3 might not. The whole point of those signings is that they're of a level that means that a centre back Canada knows that there's someone right in his tail, ready to come in if he's not performing. There's an impact that it can have on the first team, even whenever they're not playing, and some of the names that have been mentioned, like Huijsen, you're looking at him and you think he would just be a fabulous.
Well, there's a lot of breaking him going to Chelsea news.
Fuck off.
Yeah, big Miguel Delaney. Chelsea have taken a lead in the pursuit of Dean Huijsen. Am I pronouncing it?
That won't be true.
They hope to sign the ball defender before the FIFA World Cup. Are you slamming Miguel Delaney from the Independents?
Let's put it like this: regardless of what Miguel thinks or not, well, he may be absolutely correct. But there's one thing I'm fairly confident on: if Liverpool want Dean Huijsen, they get him ahead of Chelsea. 100% they get him ahead of Chelsea. So
they got Casido. They managed to get Lavia.
Casido, I think. Well, firstly, you go back. to the point of that sort of early in the Chelsea project,
Yeah.
where they can tell a story. Look at what we've spent this summer. We are the new Man City. We are storming to the title.
They did the hard yards on Casino as well. We
Yards,
came in really late.
They put the hard yards,
and
I think they probably put the hard yards at the stage where Liverpool was still tracking Bellingham even, you know.
Yeah.
So they've stolen a march there, so I don't think that's a strange thing. Also, I think their stock has fallen since then and ours has risen. I mean, that's a summer where we finish, at the end of that season, where have we finished? We haven't qualified for the Champions League. I don't think that summer, have we? No. So it gets coming into Klopp's last season. We haven't qualified for the Champions League. We've had a weird season. This season our pitch is champions versus those bums who may or may not just scrape into the Champions League. Don't even know if they're going to keep their manager. We're a whole different proposition to Chelsea. And any player we really want, we get ahead of them. And if we don't go for Dean Houston, it means because we don't want Dean fucking Houston.
I mean, that'd be mad if we didn't. But
yes,
I think
agree.
the project word you used is do you want the Premier League champions or do you want a project that just continues to be a project because there's so many new players and there's a manager that they're sort of not sure around now, while you can come into the Premier League champions and you can play alongside the greatest centre-back in the world, or you can have him as your mentor over the next 2 years and then in 2 years' time you're the main man. I think that would be what they'll be selling to him. I really want him. I love him. I think he's a cracker. I think he's brilliant. But I think he's the kind of player that I'm talking about here, where if he comes in and he maybe necessarily doesn't start that first game of the season, but he's there and Kanati knows he's there because Kanati's looking at him in training and going, fucking hell, he's good, he's the future.
Well, that brings me back to the surgery points. If you're buying a third choice centre half, then it's not surgery, is it? But it's certainly improving the squad in a massive way if it's someone of his level.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's really interesting what they do up top this summer. I think that's a big thing now. I think we've seen that over the last few games. Jota hasn't been the Jota that when he's been fit, we've known and loved this season, I don't think, and particularly over the past sort of 2 or 3 months. I thought when he came back from injury that we were going to see that. I thought whenever he scored against Everton we were going to see more of that. I don't necessarily mean that's we get rid of him. I love him and I'll always try and hold on to him if I can, even though it, given his injury record, it feels like if there is an offer they might do it. But I think that given what we've seen with Nunez recently, I think he's a goner, and there's already one that you I just don't think they'll want to do much more business up top there because they've got business to do everywhere else. Yeah.
Oh, listen, it's going to be an interesting summer. Rob's off to do the gutter now. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy that. It's available for tour subscribers. We're going to be doing 1 a week from now, I think, till the end of the season. And then in the summer, we'll be all systems go on all of that. As champions, as people are pointing out, why wouldn't you want to join the Premier League champions, of course? It's not a bad sell. So we'll go. Huge thanks to Asher Marlowe for pulling this all together, to Rob and Craig, for you guys for joining in on the comments. Loads of Isaac love there, people sort of wanting him and things like that, and yeah, why not? But we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, enjoy tonight. Could be a big party. If not, enjoy Sunday, put your glad bags on, get dressed up, enjoy the Anfield Wrap content, and hopefully next time we see each other we might be Premier League champions. Up the Reds.